Welcome to the Sales Nuts Podcast. Okay, I'd love it if we could do that for you. Gosh, that's a lot of money. Hi, everybody. Kyle from Sales Nuts Podcast and Webinarinc. I appreciate you checking us out today. Today, we're going to talk about unsold customers, people that are at your business and don't buy. We're going to talk about what the goal is. The goal is obviously to bring them back in to make a sale. We're going to talk about how to start calls the right way so we don't lose the customer in the first 5 seconds. We're going to talk about ways to send videos, emails, and text messages to build engagement. We're going to talk about fun things you could do, such as the immediate call back or the curbside call. That's calling somebody 30 seconds after they leave your business. And we're also going to talk about the value of getting good quality guest information. Because if you cannot reach a buyer, you cannot sell a buyer. And if you have an unsold customer, it is important that you have multiple email addresses, multiple phone numbers, and even a way to reach them on a social network. Now, in full disclosure, the majority of what we talk about and the majority of what we do is automotive related. We are automotive sales trainers at our core, but a lot of the stuff we talk about will translate to other businesses. We're going to talk about the unsold traffic phone call and other techniques you could do to bring buyers back in. If you would like a copy of call guides that will take you step by step and walk you through how to bring in unsold showroom traffic customers, just shoot us an email at admin, ADMIN, at webinar, WEBINAR, Inc., which is INC.com. Admin at webinarinc.com. So when you're working with unsold showroom traffic buyers, people that were at your business and left, it is important to remember what your goal is. Now, in the automotive space, the goal is to bring the buyer back into the dealership. To complete the purchase, we got to get the buyer back in the majority of the time. Now, maybe you sell a product that can be sold over the phone, insurance, just for an example. If you don't have to have the buyer come back in to complete the policy, maybe the goal when you call them back, they were at your office, they left, is just to get the credit card information over the phone and the deal. Whatever the goal is, though, you want to start out with that. So many people will call up somebody that did not buy from them, and they'll go like this. Hey, you were in here the other day, and I just wanted to see if you were ready to buy or if you have any questions. And they don't really know where they're going. Or they'll say, have you made a purchase yet? When you call somebody up and you ask, hey, have you made a purchase yet? Are you still interested? It makes it very, very easy for them to rush you off of the call. Oh, yeah, no, I'm not interested. I don't have any questions. Thank you. And they get off. You want to open things up and give the buyer a chance to talk. You want to open things up and find out if the objection that was stopping them when they were at your business is still the objection that is stopping them now. You want to start things fresh. You want to start things clean. How many times has somebody given you an objection when you were face to face with them, and then you call them back and their objection is something completely different? How many times have you walked out on a salesperson? You left on a salesperson. You told them the reason you weren't buying was because of this. And in reality, it was because of something completely different. It was because of that. You tell them this and it's because of that. I'll give you an example. I am not married. I'm as single as a single person could be, right? If I get in retail environments though, and I don't want to purchase something, what do you think I say? Oh, I got to go talk to my wife. And immediately the salesperson always just lets me off the hook. Oh, okay, I understand. You got to go talk to your wife. That makes sense. If you called me back and you went, hey, have you had a chance to talk to your wife yet? You'd be chasing an objection that was not even there. So that is why when you do unsold follow-up calls, you want to start fresh, you want to start clean. Let me give you an example of starting out the call. Now, a couple things we've talked about so far. You want to have your goal in mind. In the automotive space, the goal is to bring the buyer back into the dealership. If you're in another industry, just ask yourself, what does success look like? What do you want out of this phone call? If you do not know what you want, you're going to have a lot of trouble getting what you need. So for this call in particular, I know that I want an appointment because I'm in the automotive space. So everything I do is going to move me in the direction of the appointment. And the call might go like this. Hi, buyer. Thank you for taking my call. It's Kyle from the dealership. There'll be a little chatter usually. The reason I am calling is I just wanted to thank you for coming in yesterday and working with us. I really appreciate you taking the time. And then a pause. Wait. Give the buyer a chance to talk. Start out with a thank you. Start out with appreciation. Notice the difference in, hi buyer, the reason I'm calling you is I just want to thank you for taking the time to visit us. I really appreciate you doing that. Or, have you purchased a vehicle yet? Are you still in the market? Is the price still too high? Is the trade value still too low? When you jump right to the old objection, it is not the best way to start the call. You want to give the buyer a chance to catch up with you. And then just give them a little pause. Just wait. Give them a chance to talk. Now, sometimes you're going to get very lucky and the buyer's going to go like this. Oh, yeah, thank you for giving me the call. You know what? I wanted to see if I could come back down and take a look. That happens sometimes. More often than not, though, the buyer just thanks you for calling them. Oh, yeah, thank you. It was a pleasure. And then you go into the portion of the call where you try and work the deal. Now you could maybe find if there's any unanswered questions. And buyer, I also wanted to find out, do you have any unanswered questions? Anything that you need any additional information on? Trying to get their brain working. No. I don't have any questions on anything. Now, if they have a question, remember what the goal is. In the automotive space, the goal is to bring the buyer to the dealership. So if they ask me something like, yeah, I was wondering if you could take another $5,000 off. And let's say there's no way I could do $5,000. I may not want to just get into the weeds right there and get confrontational. So I may say something like this. Okay, so you're looking for another $5,000 off. Gosh, that's a lot of money. I'd love it if we could do that for you. How did you like the vehicle? I may want to go into another direction if it's some weird thing that I can't control. So just keep in mind, if the buyer asks you a question you don't know the answer to, or if they ask you something completely unrealistic, let them know that you can check on the information, you'll find everything out, and then continue moving through the call. Okay, so you want to save another $5,000? Good googly moogly. I don't know if we'll be able to do that. I appreciate you asking me that, though. And if there's any way to do it, I assure you, we're the ones that are going to do it with you. So you're trying to save $5,000. On that truck that we drove, is that the one you like? How'd you like it? So acknowledge what they're trying to do and then take the conversation someplace else so you can figure out what you need to do. The next thing you may want to ask is how they liked the vehicle, or what did they like about the vehicle? Now, in this case, they're usually going to say something positive. How'd you like the vehicle? Oh, I liked it. Great. What did you like about it? Find out what they liked about the car. Find out what is important to them. Remind them of all the cool things that were on the vehicle that weren't on their old vehicle. This is a way to get them thinking about the car again. Now, another question on this thing you may want to ask is, what are you comparing that vehicle with? What are you comparing it to? Why would you ever want to ask somebody what they're comparing it against? Because they were with you when they didn't buy. Let's say that you're selling refrigerators, TVs, paintings, wall art, couches, anything. What are you comparing the couch with? Ask them what they're comparing it to. They may tell you they're comparing exactly your product against something else because of the money. They may be comparing it against something cheaper, something more expensive. Find out what they are comparing it to. All right, so let me back this whole thing up right quick. Thank the buyer. Give them a chance to talk. Ask them if they have any unanswered questions. If they ask you something weird that doesn't help the car deal or whatever you're selling, tell them that you'll check on it, have some empathy, and then ask them how they like the product. Okay, well, how'd you like the car? Ask them what they're comparing the car to. And now by this time, you are pretty well set up for a closing question. And one of the most popular closing questions in the automotive space is this. Buyer, if there was one thing that was stopping you from moving forward on that vehicle that we drove yesterday, what do you think that one thing would be? Give them a chance to talk and then ask for the appointment. Okay, so the one thing stopping you right now is the money, or the one thing stopping you right now is the this, or the one thing stopping you right now is the that. And then take that one thing and use it as the fuel to bring the buyer in. Okay, so you're saying the one thing is you didn't like the color. You're saying the one thing is the money. You're saying the one thing is this or that. Now, worst case scenario, you know what the one thing is, even if you don't get the appointment, even if you don't get the deal. So if you want to go back to your sales managers or just take some time for yourself and figure something out that can make the deal work, now you know exactly what it is. Hi, buyer. The reason I'm calling is I just want to say thank you for visiting us last night. I really appreciate you taking the time. Oh, yeah, you were great. Awesome. And I also wanted to know if you had any unanswered questions on the vehicle. How did you like the vehicle? What are you comparing the vehicle to? Buyer, if there was one thing that was stopping you from moving forward on that vehicle that we drove, what would that one thing be? When you have this type of flow and you know exactly where you're going, it makes it a lot easier to be successful on the call. When I call customers, I know I'm looking for one thing, no pun intended, and that one thing is an appointment so I can close the deal. Everything I talk about, everything I do moves me in the direction of the appointment. Customize this for what you sell, have a call guide, and you're going to have a lot more success. All right, let's talk about other things that we could do outside of a phone call. And you know what? Let's talk about a couple other closes as well. If you ask for the one thing and they don't give it to you, or they're hemming and hawing about it, you may say this: buyer, the reason why you're deciding to hold off, is it because you're not sure it's the vehicle, or is it because of the money? And you could switch the verbiage up here. Buyer, the reason you're deciding to hold off, is it because you're not sure it's the product, or is it because of something with the money? If they say the product, you got to figure out what is holding them back. Okay, it's the product. So what would you suggest? What product would be perfect for you? If they say it's the money, you want to find out what part of the money is bothering them. Okay, it's the money. When you're saying the money, is it the price, the payment, the down payment, what we paid for your car, the interest rate? What part of the money is bothering you? A lot of times it is not just sales price. Maybe it's the lease payment. Maybe it's the interest rate. Find out what's bothering them and then transition that to an appointment. All right, let's talk about a couple other things we could do here, okay? Videos, emails, text messages. When you send somebody a video, have the why in the video when you're doing unsold follow-up. So often people will send a thank you video with no call to action. If you're sending a video, have a call to action in the video. Hey, this is Kyle. The reason I'm sending you this video is I just want to thank you for coming in and working with me. I really appreciate it. And I want to let you know that I looked at our computer system and I found something else that might be interesting to you. Give me a call when you get it. I'll tell you what it is. It's a truck that's got 3,000 miles on it. Whatever it is, have a call to action. You don't want a video that is just like you putting something like a note in a bottle and throwing that bottle into the ocean and hoping somebody does something. You ever seen those old skits where someone throws the bottle in the ocean and there's a note inside for somebody to find? You don't want your video to be like that. Have a call to action. Ask for an appointment in your video. Ask for a call back in your video. Tell the buyer you found additional inventory, additional pricing, something else that could help them. Let's talk about emails. When you are emailing the customer, you want to have that same tone. You want to have a call to action. In your email, have additional inventory in there. If you sell something that you're allowed to give a coupon on, stick a coupon in there. If you're in the automotive space, maybe you have a service coupon or something else that you could put in to entice the buyer. In text messaging, when you're doing unsold traffic, someone that didn't buy from you, same thing. Make sure that you have a call to action. You don't want to just send blind thank you videos. You don't want to send just blind thank you emails or text messages. Thank you, call to action. Thank you, here's what's next. Give the buyer something that they're going to get excited about. All right, now let's talk about maybe my favorite phone call to make, because it's funny. I giggle every time I do it. And it's easier for me to do it because usually I'm calling somebody else's customer. If it's your own customer, it could be a little bit harder. And this next call is not for every single customer. It's not for every single situation. Use this in a positive way. Don't do it with everybody. The people that you do it with, though, I promise it is going to make a big difference. I started selling cars when I was 18 years old. And I was in high school when I sold cars, and I was a little bit crazy. Sales Nuts podcast, right? And when I first started selling cars, one of the things that we thought was hilarious, you remember, there was no real internet back then. There was no ratings. There was no reviews. Somebody would pull out of the dealership, and if they left, we were taught we would never, ever see them again. And statistically, it was true, okay? I would wait till the buyer got right outside the dealership, or maybe they'd be at the stop sign or the stoplight. I would sprint at the person's car. Every other salesperson would be laughing. I'd run in front of their car and I would go, stop, wait, roll down your window. And everybody would start laughing. They would roll down their window and I would say, come back inside. There's something that I have to show you. And a lot of the times the buyers would come back into the dealership and we would make deals. There was a fence in front of our dealership too. And as a much younger man, I would sprint at the fence. I would jump the fence sometimes and then run in front of the customer's car. It was funny. I was mostly doing it to make the salespeople laugh, but it made a lot of deals too. A modern version of this is as the buyer's pulling out of the dealership, or maybe they're still in the dealership parking lot or whatever product you sell, just call them. Call them sincerely and say something like this. Hey, buyer, it's Kyle. The guy you were just talking to, do you remember me from like 20 seconds ago? I need you to come back in here. Can you come back in? Well, what is it? I got something that I got to show you. This is the immediate call back or the curbside call. When you call somebody that is pulling out of the dealership, leaving your business, and you ask them to come back in, you would be shocked at the amount of people that'll actually come back in. I could have 100 people in front of me, 500 people in front of me doing a seminar, and I could say, hey, who believes we should call every customer back that doesn't buy? And every hand in the room will go up. And then I'll say, who thinks that we could call them 30 seconds after they leave? And most of the hands will not go up. Maybe I'll have 2 or 3. And then I'll just ask the room, I'll say, okay, so we all agree that we should call people back when they're 30 minutes away from our business, when they're already at home. Maybe they're an hour away from us. We should call them back then the next day, but we shouldn't call them back when they're 30 seconds away, when they can just stop the car and walk back in. Think about the logic in that. You think it's okay to call somebody back when nothing's changed, when they're an hour away from us, but it's not okay to call them back when nothing's changed, when they're 30 seconds away from us. Let's just call them back right now. When you're close to a deal, or you have something that you could do for the buyer, maybe you could give them an extra little discount. Maybe you just need to tell them this when they come back in. Hey, thank you for coming back in. I really appreciate it. I talked to my manager. There is no way that you're ever going to get this vehicle for any less, and I need you to do the deal right now. It is never going to get cheaper. I begged. I looked at the screen. The guy showed me, this is the best deal you're going to get anywhere. Let's do it. And then put out your hand. Sometimes that will get you the deal. A lot of customers are going to buy you. They're going to buy your enthusiasm, your excitement. They don't want to go waste time at another dealership. They're going to buy you. The immediate callback. One of the last things, but definitely not the least, is setting up for good quality follow-up. I talked about earlier how we were taught that if a customer leaves, you're never going to see them again. And you got to kind of believe that to be effective when you're selling. You always want to give great service though, and you always want to gather good customer information. If you look in the average system where data is stored, the average CRM, Most salespeople get one phone number and they get one email address. Most people, though, have multiple email addresses and multiple phone numbers. Ask them for an additional phone number. Ask them for an additional email address. If you cannot reach the buyer, you cannot sell the buyer. I have 2 email addresses. I'll take a look right now. Literally, I'll tell you the actual answer. One of my email addresses has 59,193 unread emails. One of my email addresses has 0 unread emails. I'm recording this early in the morning, and I haven't gotten emails yet, other than the ones I've already read. 59,000 is my personal email address. 0 unread emails is my work email address. And I actually use my personal email address all the time. I use it for travel. I use it for older accounts that I've had. It is a real, valid, good email address. My credit card statements and stuff go there. If I'm not sure that I want to give you my work email, what do I give you? My personal email. And there's a chance that I miss it. The only things I see in my personal email address are things that I actually search for. I book an airline ticket. I got to go in and type in American Airlines or Delta to find what I was looking for. My work, I read every single email. So if I give you my personal email address, you may not be able to reach me. That's why you need to say something like this. So is BarneyFan456 your best email address? Oh, that's your personal email. If I have something that was really important and I needed to show it to you, what email address should I use? Get their work email address and tell the person, hey, look, give me an email that is actually good, where if I have something good, I could send it to you. I promise I'm not going to send you a bunch of junk. Now, you need to follow through on your promise. That secondary email address probably isn't going to get most of the promotional stuff in the CRM anyways. Maybe you save that for yourself to send them manual emails that you have total control of. You want to get 2 email addresses, though. The value of 2 email addresses is incredible. Something else you could do for people. Again, I'll talk automotive. Ask them if they want a picture of them driving the car. Ask them if they want a picture of them standing in front of the car. In the right situations, this is incredible. You got a young guy looking at a sports car. Hey, you want me to take a picture of you in front of this thing? They're going to say yes. Want me to follow you and tag you in this? They might say yes. Go as far as you can with things. If you add them on a social network and you tag them in it, they're going to love that in the right situations, okay? Have good quality follow-up. We're not setting up for failure. Setting up for failure is assuming the person isn't going to buy. You got to know, though, if you can't reach them, you can't sell them. 2 good emails, 2 good phone numbers, and extra credit if you follow each other on some type of social channel. All right, so let's circle back on all this stuff. Before you ever make a phone call, you got to know what your goal is. Is your goal the appointment? Is your goal the sale? Don't just call blindly. Have a call guide or some type of word track. Again, if you want the call guide, email us, admin@webinarinc.com. We'll send you an editable version of this that you could use for whatever you want to use it for. Know how to start the call. Don't start out by jumping into yesterday's problems. Start it fresh. Start it easy. Start it with a thank you. Every single time you send a video, an email, a text message, have a reason that the buyer should engage. Have a call to action there. Don't just send things blind. Utilize fun calls like the immediate callback or the curbside call. Hey, buyer, I know you were just here. Can you come back in and see me? And last but not least, make sure that you get good quality guest information. 2 emails, 2 phone numbers, and some type of social contact, and you're going to have a lot easier time selling customers in the short term and the long term, because if you can't reach the buyer, you cannot sell the buyer. I appreciate you listening to this. If there is a topic you would like us to cover, all you ever got to do is reach out, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.